Dear friends, today we are going to speak about the transit of retrograde Venus that will occur in the autumn of the year 2018. Venus is retrograde every year and a half, and sometimes its retrograde motion is more, sometimes less interesting. This year's transit is special as it is going to be retrograde in the sign of Scorpio, where Venus behaves strangely and widely because it is in detriment in this astrological sign. Of course, this is strongly erotic transit, but not only that. So let's see what is it about. I'm recording this video in Venice, as you see, the city that enchants people with its extraordinary beauty for many centuries already. And I believe that Venice, or Venezia, has Venus in Scorpio in its natal chart. How do I know that? Well, simply by its characteristics. This city not only has the name, the same as the planet Venus, which is the planet of erotic love, passion, and possessions, but even has the magic that comes from its extremes that are so typical for Venus in Scorpio. In Old Slavic language, Vendi were the castes of merchants, and they were establishing cities in ports, and they actually established Venice as well. Venezia hypnotizes people with its beauty, but it also scares them, especially when one walks through narrow streets near dark canals. Venice seduces with its fragrance, but it smells awfully at the same time. It has the most luxurious goods, palaces, and divine art, but was famous for the torture and selling of slaves. The story about famous lover Casanova, of course, is from Venice, but his story can all be fake, as he was terribly frustrated, of course. So there are so many extremes here, as you see. Venetians were, of course, famous for their conflicting with the Catholic Church, and they were, perhaps purposely, devoted to erotic love and pleasure. To be devoted to pleasure is something that comes to one's mind when being in Venice, of course. Pleasure seeking for any price is the bad side of Venus in Scorpio. Of course, this Venus has good sides also, but this is one of the worst ones. And this is, of course, something that is attributed to Western civilization generally, in a negative sense, at least from the view of Chinese, Indian, and Slavic people. The second option would be that Venezia has Venus in Pisces. There are also many reasons for that, as Venetians were overseas merchants, but we cannot discuss this much today, as we need to talk about Venus in Scorpio. So let's not change the subject. So Venus and Venezia, here we are. I will first tell you the exact dates of Venus retrograde that you can mark them in calendar. Venus will be retrograde in the sign of Scorpio from the 6th of October until the 16th of November 2018. It will be in Scorpio sign from the 6th to the 31st of October. It means the whole October is in Scorpio. And then it will be in Libra from the 1st to the 16th of November. But retrograde planets have their shadow. So altogether, Venus will be retrograde from the 3rd of September until the 18th of December. But just it is not going to be so effective all the time. But we have to consider it retrograde in all of those periods and in the shadow period. So we have two periods here of Venus retrograde that are very different. One is in Scorpio and other is in Libra. So let's ask, what do they have in common? I have recorded the video in the year 2017 named Astrology Transits Venus Retrograde. And I have spoken about that period of retrograde Venus And I said there, I suggest to you to see this older video because I speak more there generally about retrograde Venus. But I'm repeating here that it's never good for wedding, this period. And that's what I'm stressing here again. And this applies actually for retrograde Venus in any sign, not just in Scorpio, in any sign. Never good for wedding and never good for starting the relationship. I'm also here repeating here that in this period, almost all goods and properties loses its value. So it is good to buy on discounts if one can bargain and is able to buy valuable things for a small price. But one should be very careful. We don't have all of those skills, so you can think sometimes that you bought something that is a good bargain, but later on it can appear that this was very expensive. So really we need to know how to do this. Of course, Venus loves shopping and loves that in Libra and Scorpio, and in Scorpio even likes very luxurious things. So I hope many of you will be able to make good bargains. Generally, October is going to be more noisy and emotionally harder than November. November is more about searching for the harmony and potentially achieving it in any way, especially in a new way, actually. The last time Venus was retrograde in Scorpio and in Libra was in the autumn of the 2010. So please try to remember what was happening in that time with you. If you made some decisions or you have completed one relationship or changed the attitude towards money and possessions, now that cycle will finishes and you are ready to move further. So try to remember what was happening in 2010. But let's now speak about the dramatic period of Venus retrograde while it stays in Scorpio. Well, in that time, its ruler will be planet Mars, and they will create very harsh aspect between the 11th and the 12th of October. Those days are particularly dramatic. In such days, lovers fight, unfortunately, in a brutal way. So mark those days in calendar and be careful. While Venus is retrograde in Scorpio in October, emotions will be very strong and many will behave even hysterically or even aggressive. This transit will bring extreme feelings into surface, evoke crises in love and other relationships, and possibly crises in financial and material matters. And that happens because everything old loses value and people feel it deeply. Many of you know that Uranus is in Taurus, and in this first move, it will be there until the November 2018, which means that it influences the Taurus-Scorpio axis. Well, on the 31st of October 2018, Uranus will create opposition to Venus that is in Scorpio, and it is his ruler. And that brings up interesting situation. Many issues will suddenly break out or be solved in unexpected way. You can watch my videos about Uranus in Taurus sign. There are 3 videos in English and links are under this video. So I recommend to you to watch videos about Uranus as this is a very important transit that we are going to feel for the next 5-6 years. Uranus will bring us many changes, but while expecting Venus in 2018, will specially influence changes of values in the material world, and this can lead even to some sort of financial crisis. So let's hope it will be good enough this time to survive. I wanted to say that I have many clients that have Venus in Scorpio, especially women. I would like to stress here that they are not witches, they are nymphs. So they are women with a special knowledge, magical in many ways. Paradoxically, they do not have luck in love, and unfortunately, they often compensate that. That they don't have love enough. They compensate it with money and possessions. They have very strange attitude towards finances. They either use other people's resources or give up of everything they have in behalf of others. Of course, both ways of behaving represents the lack of self-value. Nevertheless, they are often gifted and able to regenerate and transform others by using their sixth sense. And by doing so, they regenerate and transform themselves as well. So I think that the best thing for women who have a Venus in Scorpio is to do some sort of therapy. Well, later on in 2018, in November, Venus will be in Libra. Here she knows her value much better and relates to people in the most positive way. But at this time, harsh feelings will come down. By this time, I mean in November 2018, and many relationships will harmonize. And when the trine between Venus and Mars appears in the sky, which will be on the 10th of November, the drama will slowly stop, and lovers will be together again, and financial matters will look better. So let's now have a glimpse on the transits for all zodiac signs. As Venus is going to be retrograde in two signs, then I will also talk about two signs altogether now, all the time. Please note that I will speak about the ascendant. So some Libras and some Scorpios on the ascendant, some, not all, will have this transit in the first house. And many of them will have very strong desire to love and to be loved, but many will interrupt relationships, or relationships will simply lose meaning and the significance, at least one relationship. It is possible that old lovers will appear. Some Libras and some Virgos on the ascendant will go to some sort of financial crisis first and maybe regenerate later on. Other Virgos and Leo people on the ascendant will have a problem to find the balance between emotions and thinking, and that's never easy. Never in any time, especially now will be hard. Other Leos and Cancer people on the ascendant will face deep emotional crises at home, or give up of some family heritage, or try to solve some family troubles and relationships. Other Cancer and some Gemini people will have love adventures that will shake them deeply. Interruptions and these kind of things are possible. Other Gemini people and also some Taurus people will be solving relationships with colleagues and will refuse to serve others as they did before, and because of this they can even have some health problems, so be careful. Some Taurus and some also Aries people will have this transit in the seventh astrological house. So they will re-estimate marriage relation if they have one, or some other committed relationships because of the financial matters or because of intimate matters. Other areas and some Piscean people will hide from others their emotions, or that they will hide from others that they're going through some deep emotional crisis. It's good time to understand how the emotions functions for them. Then some Pisces and Aquarius people can possibly go to some sort of a spiritual crisis. This is also possible here, spiritual crisis. Other type of Aquarius and Capricorn, if they have this on the ascendant, these signs on the ascendant, then they will have this transit through the 10th house, and they will change the image in society because of the pressure of others, other people. Other type of Capricorn and Sagittarius on the ascendant will have this transit in the 11th house, so they will reevaluate their long-term goals and possibly even have conflicts with friends or with the society. Maybe some of them will meet strange people or strange lovers through to friends, for example. Some Sagittarius and some Scorpio people who have this transit in the 12th house will have secret love affairs. They will hide their erotic life, or they will maybe secretly fight with others. So that's all for now. If you wish to learn more about Venus in your natal chart and your potential for relationship, for example, or your potential to have money and to be content in financial life, you can order consultations with me. And please go to my website www.symbolicthinking.net to learn more. As soon as I come back and recover from this seductive city, I'll be ready to talk to you. So not those days, immediately, please. I also offer feng shui analysis and theta healing theta healing consultations. And theta healing is some sort of a spiritually energetical healing, and I recommend this very much to those who have Venus in Scorpio. All contacts are under this, and recommended videos that I mentioned in this video are under this video on YouTube. So if you like the video, please like it, share it, and comment, and follow my posts in English on Facebook. Looking forward to see you soon and wish you to be rich in love and in everything else in the most positive sense.